Oh, today on Incisive Gaming, we're, well, actually this month, we're skipping the Mario Galaxy review for now, and we're going to something a little more fun in my opinion. We're flashing back to the Atari 2600, well, in a way we are. It's kind of a tribute to the Haunted House on the Atari 2600, one of my favorite games on the system. One of the earlier games I got. I personally think some of the earlier games were made by geniuses. Just starting out doing games that were that fun and cool, and I mean, pretty impressive, I think so. So that's what we're going to focus on. And I just want to mention the Atari 2600 Flashback 2, which is kind of neat. It's got another version of Adventure and Haunted House 2, I believe, on there. I actually beat the Haunted House 2 and the Adventure. The newer versions on there are quite challenging, I must say. The Haunted House was pretty interesting. It had some newer features to it, like a shovel, and I'm not exactly sure what the other little items I was grabbing were without an instruction manual. But pretty interesting. They made it a little bit like the Adventure, and you go from room to room without the light around you. But some rooms you have the light around you, like the Adventure, when you're going through the maze, the dark mazes, and that. It's kind of cool. I guess mainly on this episode we're going to talk about my, well, my friend helped me do it, but we collaborated on it. My version of Haunted House, I guess you would say number 3 or 4 or whatever. I call it Haunted House 3 because I knew there was a version, Haunted House 2 on the 5200, some homebrew made. So mine's Haunted House 3, and it's pretty interesting. Check it out. Would love to hear some feedback. Haunted House was one of my favorite Atari games, and just want to say that it took us about 2 months to do it, and we had a lot of fun doing it on the Game Maker. Well, I'd like to hear some feedback, if possible, on what anybody thinks about our remake of Haunted House. So send the comments, and here we go. Atop a lonely hill in Spirit Bay stands the historic old mansion of Zachary Graves. The legend says that there's a magical golden urn broken into 6 pieces during the 1920s. The pieces are said to have been scattered around the mansion by spirits that reside in the house. The urn was a favorite possession of Old Man Graves, and when the urn was broken, his spirit awoke and will not rest until the urn is reassembled and in the hands of one of his descendants. The task of finding the urn has been passed down from generation to generation, and so far the results have only been death and despair to those who have entered the house. Young Zachary Graves IV is determined to end the curse upon his family. Recently he uncovered notes that one of his ancestors had written before perishing in the house. The note revealed the existence of a master key said to unlock the attic. The key is said to be hidden in the gravestone behind the house. It is said that holding just 4 pieces of the urn together can unlock the entryway to the graveyard. Be quick on your journey, for it is said the longer you stay inside the house, the less chance you have of escaping with your life. Free your grandfather's soul by collecting 6 pieces of the golden urn that has been fragmented by death throughout the legendary haunted house. Avoid the evil that lurks within the house, or join your grandfather's soul in the eternal maze of death. Here's some trivia for you. Atari's Haunted House was originally going to be called Nightmare Manor, and the game came out and it was released in 1981, and the lead programmer's name was James Anderson. There was a Haunted House 2 3D released on the Atari 5200. It was a homebrew game by Mean Hamster Software. The Atari 2600's Haunted House has received some mixed reviews. I've seen anything from 60% to 88%. It seems like the majority of people actually like it that do review it, but I've seen some really bad ones too, where they come off saying it's the worst game ever, and I think it's because they don't really understand the game. If you play it on easy, there's really, it is easy. I mean, it's very easy. But if you play it on a more difficult level where you can't actually see the boundaries of the room and it's more dark and spooky, it's actually a little funner. I would have to give the Haunted House for the 2600 a 90 out of 100 myself. Judging it by the time when it came out in 1981 and by what was out at the time, I would put the game up there with some of my all-time favorites like The Adventure and Superman, which were pretty complex when you look at a lot of the Atari games, and those were some of the earlier games that even come out on the 2600. And also the Raiders of the Lost Ark, which was one of my favorites too. I'd have to put that in there with it also. But there was a lot of, I mean, what was it, like 500 games for the 2600? A lot of dumb games on the 2600. So I just think these stand out as some of the better ones, and if not some of the best. And for all the people that think the E.T. was like the worst game ever, and or at least the worst game on 2600, I would really beg to differ on that. There was over 500 games on the Atari 2600, and I would say the majority of them are probably dumber than E.T. Pretty lame games, I must say. My pick for the dumbest game on the 2600 off the top of my head would probably be Strawberry Shortcake. I mean, paying $50 for a game where you just change clothes on a few characters and different music plays in the background, I mean, that's pretty lame. I mean, that's enough to make someone want to hang themselves, you know, especially back in the day.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.